Rodin Motorsport is a British junior racing team based in Farnham, England. Originally founded as Carlin Motorsport in 1996, the team became one of the most successful outfits in feeder series racing before being rebranded as Rodin in 2024 after full acquisition by Rodin Cars. So over the years, the team has developed many F1 superstars, such as Lando Norris, George Russell, Carlos Sainz, Daniel Ricciardo and Kevin Magnussen. They have managed hundreds of race wins and many championship titles across many different junior categories, but how would they hold up in Formula 1? Now to answer this, I loaded up F125 MyTeam, created a brand new Rodin Motorsport Formula 1 team, signed both Formula 3 icon Callum Voisin alongside Enzo Fittipaldi, and simulated the next 10 seasons of the sport. Now before we begin, make sure you subscribe and become a channel member by hitting the join button below. Much like the 2025 Formula 1 season, the McLaren team was successful in securing the Constructors' Championship, beating Ferrari by just 3 points. Red Bull and Mercedes finished just behind, while the newest Rodin Motorsport team managed to finish avoiding dead last, but do finish in P10. Both drivers secured points, which sees Callum Voisin finishing in P19, while his teammate Enzo Fittipaldi finished up in P15, just ahead of Oliver Behrman. Former champion Max Verstappen fails to top the standings for the 5th season in a row, as he falls down to 3rd place. A surprise runner-up comes in the form of Lewis Hamilton, who has a very impressive first season at Ferrari to finish just 23 points their latest champion, and that champion will be a brand new one, well, kind of anyway. With Lando Norris ending the 2025 season just like real life to win his very first driver's title, he would manage 6 race wins across the season just like Max Verstappen, while Lewis Hamilton managed 3 wins, and George Russell would finish first on just 1 occasion. Now there'd be quite a large transfer market occurring at the end of the season, with the retirements of both Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton, while both Max Verstappen and Enzo Fittipaldi are dropped from their teams. The other Red Bull driver of Yuki Tsunoda moves over to Rodin, with the champion Lando Norris joining the Red Bull team. Isaac Hadjar gets a call up to the Red Bull team, with Kimi Antonelli joining Ferrari, and Gabriel Bortoleto getting a rather quick move over to Mercedes. The last 4 open seats are filled with Paul Aron joining Aston Martin, Zach O'Sullivan being brought in by the Kick Sauber team, Jack Crawford joining the Racing Bulls, and Franco Colapinto returns to Formula 1 to drive for McLaren. The first season also sees regulation changes to both the chassis and powertrain departments. McLaren fell to 3rd place this season, being overtaken by Mercedes and the eventual champions of Red Bull Racing. They jumped up from 3rd place, with the newest team Roden jumping up 3 places to finish the 2nd season in P7. Driver improvements allowed for better results, with Callum Voisin jumping up to P14, with their newest driver Yuki Tsunoda securing a solid P12 in his first season. Last season's champion Lando Norris fails to secure back-to-back titles after moving to Red Bull and drops down to 3rd place. George Russell secures his first appearance in the top 3 to finish as a runner-up, allowing another brand new champion to be crowned. This season sees Oscar Piastri win his first Drivers' Championship after scoring 263 points, just 12 points more than George Russell. Both drivers would win a total of 4 races each, while former champion Lando Norris would actually take 6 wins. The final 2 races were then won by Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc. There's not as many driver moves this year, with both Alex Albon and Oliver Behrman losing their seats, allowing Liam Lawson to join Williams, Pepe Marti to make his debut with the Racing Bulls, while the Haas team signed Tim Tranmitz, who will also make his debut next year. The powertrain department will once again be hit with some changes, this time alongside the aerodynamics department. We will once again see a different Constructors' Champion, with last season's winners Red Bull dropping down to P5, while Mercedes move up to win the first title of this simulation. The Rodin team managed to overtake the former champions, recording their best finish yet in P3. Both drivers continue to move up the standings as well, with Callum Voisin finishing in P7, while Tsunoda secured an incredible P5. Former champ Lando Norris remained in 3rd place this season, finishing just 3 points ahead of the reigning champion Oscar Piastri. Charles Leclerc takes the runner-up position, with yet another brand new champion being crowned, as George Russell topped both standings to take his first ever driver's title. Just under 50 points would separate the top 2, with just a single race win splitting them as well, after Russell won 5 and Leclerc won 4. Lando Norris won 2 races, just like Yuki Tsunoda, who would take Rodin's first ever race wins, while Oscar Piastri falls to just a single race win, much like Bortoleto and Voisin, who will win their first ever races as well. Unfortunately, Tsunoda would fail to reach an agreement with Rodin, so he will leave the sport, allowing Alex Albon to come in and make his return. Both Carlos Sainz and Nico Hülkenberg are set to retire at the end of this season, with Isaac Hadjar and Jack Crawford filling their seats. Esteban Ocon moves over to Red Bull, with Zane Maloney set to drive for Haas next year. Zach O'Sullivan leaves Kick Sauber in favour of the Racing Bulls, while Richard Verschoor comes in to drive for Sauber. The aerodynamics department is then once again hit with some regulation changes. A 4th season sees a 4th different Constructors' Champion, with the Ferrari team rising to championship glory for the first time in over 20 years. Rodin fell to just 5th place this season after both drivers dropped in the standings. Callum Voisin would drop down to P10, while Alex Albon finished his first season at Roden in P7. Kimi Antonelli takes his Ferrari to third place to make his first appearance in the top 3, just behind the reigning champion of George Russell, who fails to retain his title. Now once again we'll see another brand new world champion, as Charles Leclerc rises to the top, finishing 12 points ahead of George Russell. Leclerc did have a very strong season which saw him win 8 races, while George Russell would only manage to win 4. The rest of the race wins will then split between Norris, Piastri, Bortoleto and Alex Albon, who would all win a single race each. Another 2 drivers will unfortunately leave the sport this year, with both Pierre Gasly and Lance Stroll failing to secure another seat at any other team. Moving over to Alpine will be Pepe Marti, with Tim Tramnitz joining the Racing Bulls. Alex Albon leaves Rodin after just a single season to join Aston Martin, with the former champion of George Russell joining the newest team. The last open seats will see Nicola Solov sign for Haas, and Max Verstappen return to drive for the Silver Arrows of Mercedes. Both the chassis and powertrain departments are then hit with regulation changes going into the midpoint of this simulation. The Scuderia Ferrari will be the first team to secure back-to-back titles, and the first team to win multiple titles in this simulation. The Rodin team makes small improvements to jump up to P4 in overtaking Red Bull. Callum Boyson once again moves up to P7, while their newest driver George Russell secured a solid P5 result in his first season. The Ferrari driver Kimi Antonelli once again finished in 3rd place. Last season's champion of Charles Leclerc was unable to win back-to-back titles, with just under 50 points separating him and this season's champion. Max Verstappen has an incredible return season to rise to the top of the standings to win yet another Drivers' Championship, but this time driving for Mercedes. He would manage to secure 7 race wins this season, while Leclerc, Piastri, Norris and Russell would all win twice. The final race was then won by the Ferrari driver of Kimi Antonelli. But Antonelli himself would lose his Formula 1 seat, being replaced at Ferrari by a returning Oliver Behrman. Callum Boyson has spent the first 5 seasons only driving for Roden, but will leave the team at the end of the season. Gabriel Bortoleto secures a move over to Roden, while Piastri signs for Mercedes, and Tsunoda returns to drive for the Papaya of McLaren. The final driver swap will be at Kick Sauber, who replaced Jack Crawford with the French driver of Victor Martins. While the chassis department is once again targeted, this time alongside the aerodynamics and durability departments for regulation changes. Ferrari failed to secure a 3rd title, as the Silver Arrows of Mercedes added to their tally with another Constructors' Championship. Rodin made some pretty major improvements as they enter the second half of the simulation in 2nd place. Gabriel Bortoleto enters in a similar position that Callum Boyson left with a solid P7, but quite a way away from his teammate. Both Ferrari drivers drop out of the top 3 this season, with the former champion Oscar Piastri rising up to take a 3rd place finish. Last season's champion of Max Verstappen fails to win an additional title, with George Russell once again taking the lead, securing another title for him and the very first Drivers' Championship for the newest Rodin Motorsport Formula 1 team. Not only the top 3 would win races this season, with the champion winning 8 times, matching the combined success of the Mercedes pairing, after Max would win 6 and Piastri secured 2. Now after the failure to secure another title, Max Verstappen retires from the sport, with Charles Leclerc making a big switch over to the Mercedes team. Franco Colapinto secures a move over to Ferrari, allowing Kimi Antonelli to return to Formula 1, this time to drive for McLaren. Another driver set to lead the sport is Paul Aron, who is replaced by Zane Maloney at Aston Martin. Isaac Hadjar moves over to the Haas team, Pepe Marti replaces him at Williams, Tim Tramnitz moves over to Alpine, while the final seat at the Racing Bulls is provided for Taylor Barnard. Once again the aero and chassis departments are hit with the regulation changes, with the powertrain department joining them this year. The top 2 of the Constructors' Championship remain the same, with Mercedes securing another title just ahead of Rodin. Gabriel Bortoleto finishes on the cusp of the top 3, finishing just 10 points behind Oscar Piastri, who manages to remain in 3rd place. Last season's champion of George Russell is unsuccessful in gaining another championship, as he falls to the runner-up spot, over 50 points behind the latest champion, but also a returning champion, as Charles Leclerc secures his first title while driving for Mercedes. Leclerc provides a very strong performance this season, in which he secures 8 race wins, compared to his teammate who won just 4. Both Roden drivers would win races, with Kimi Antonelli returning to the top step of the podium on just a single occasion. Now only one driver would lose their seat this year, with Victor Martins being dropped by Kick Sauber in favour of Enzo Fittipaldi. And a roundabout of driver moves occurs, with Gabriel Bortoleto moving to McLaren as Yuki Tsunoda heads to Aston Martin, then Maloney to Ferrari to replace Oliver Behrman, who makes his move over to Roden Motorsport for Season 8. Also for Season 8, some regulation changes will affect both the powertrain and durability departments. Now it may have taken 8 seasons, but the newest Rodin Motorsport Formula 1 team have secured their first ever Constructors' Championship, managing to dethrone Mercedes, who finish as the runners-up. Oscar Piastri falls out of the top 3 this season, with George Russell taking his Rodin to a 3rd place finish. He finished just 14 points behind the former champion of Charles Leclerc, who was only able to secure a runner-up spot. Now once again, we will see a brand new champion. This time, it's the young Oliver Bearman who outscores Leclerc by just 6 points to top the driver's standings. Bearman would actually only take 3 race wins on his way to the title, while runner-up Leclerc would manage to win 5. The other Mercedes driver of Oscar Piastri would also win 3 races, unlike George Russell who would only win twice. The rest of the races were then split between Kimi Antonelli, Gabriel Bortoleto, and the newest race winner of Zane Maloney. Now, quite a big transfer market this year, starting with the retirement of Esteban Ocon, opening a seat at Red Bull for Franco Colapinto to take, while Kimi Antonelli returns to the Scarlet Ferrari. Zach O'Sullivan moves over to the mediocre McLaren, with Victor Martins once again returning to drive for the Racing Bulls. George Russell is unfortunately dropped by the Roden team, with Piastri jumping ship away from Mercedes. His former teammate Lando Norris moves to the Silver Arrows, with Yuki Tsunoda making a big return to drive for Red Bull. The final Aston Martin seat is then provided for the one and only Jack Crawford. At the end of this season, all the performance departments are going to be hit with some regulation changes. Unfortunately for Rodin, their driver swap wouldn't quite work out, as they failed to secure another title and fall down to 3rd place. This allows Mercedes to return to the top of the Constructors' Championship to add yet another title to their accolades. Last season's champion Oliver Bearman really struggles with the new regulation changes and falls down to P5, even being overtaken by his new teammate Oscar Piastri, who rises up to take a solid P3 finish. He does finish quite far behind the top 2, with just under 60 points separating Oscar and the runner-up of Lando Norris. Though with all former champions not managing to win another title, another brand new champion is set to be crowned, with this season providing the eventual championship glory for Kimi Antonelli while driving for the Ferrari team. Antonelli would go on to win a total of 7 races this season, but would only manage to win the title by 13 points, despite Norris only winning 4 times. 3rd place Oscar Piastri managed 3 race wins, while both Charles Leclerc and Oliver Bearman would win a single race each. Though after just a single season back at Red Bull, Yuki Tsunoda leaves once again, with Lando Norris making a return to Red Bull, allowing the newest champion to return to his home team of Mercedes. The open seat at Ferrari is given to Gabriel Bortoleto, with Nicolas Solov moving to McLaren, Liam Lawson moving to Haas, and Callum Voisin driving for Williams in their final season. Alpine also made a last minute change which saw Jack Doohan dropped in favour of signing Paul Aron. The powertrain department is hit one final time, alongside changes to the durability department. The final season will not see Rodin return to glory, as the Mercedes team was successful in finishing the simulation at the top of the Constructors' Championship. Rodin did have a somewhat successful season which saw them remain in P2, but neither driver would enter the top 3. Oliver Bearman remains in P5, while Oscar Piastri falls just short and finishes in P4. Charles Leclerc had a somewhat strong season to finish in 3rd place, falling just short of the runner-up Lando Norris, who managed to remain in 2nd despite moving over to Red Bull. The reigning champion of Kimi Antonelli just could not be stopped, finishing over 95 points ahead of Norris to finish the simulation as a multiple-time champion. Now, such a strong season for Kimi Antonelli ended with him winning 8 races, while runner-up Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc and Alex Albon all managed to win twice, as both Rodin drivers won a single race each. And that is the end of Rodin Motorsport's 10-year simulation. Now let's have a look at the decade as a whole to see who our standout performers were. Starting off with the Constructors' Championship, in which 5 different teams would finish at the top. McLaren would win the first title, followed by Red Bull and then Ferrari, who managed to win twice. The newest Roden team would secure a title on just a single occasion, with Mercedes being the most successful team after winning 5 different titles. There were 7 different drivers' champions, with Lando Norris winning the first, Piastri, Max Verstappen and Oliver Bearman all winning a single title, and the first 4 most. 3 drivers would win the title on 2 different occasions, with Leclerc being the first to do so, followed by George Russell winning at 2 different teams, and Kimi Antonelli securing back-to-back titles to end the simulation. A total of 13 different drivers would stand on the top step of the podium, with both Callum Voisin and Zane Maloney earning their first F1 wins. Yuki Tsunoda managed to win twice, Alex Albon would win 3 times, just like Sir Lewis Hamilton, but would both finish just short of Gabriel Bortoleto, who managed to win 4. Moving over to Oliver Bearman, who won 5 races, before a huge jump up to Kimi Antonelli after he won 18 times on his way to 2 titles. Max Verstappen was just ahead with 19, Piastri finished on 21, Norris on 23, George Russell on 28, but the driver with the most race wins was Charles Leclerc, who managed to take 32 Formula 1 race wins. And that is going to wrap up another video on F1 25, the first of 2026, and I just want to say a big thank you for the support throughout 2025. Make sure you drop a like on the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. There will be links in the description which will include the link to the Rodin mod I've used, and my various social media platforms including my Discord server. But that is going to be all from me today, so I hope you have a good day, evening or night, wherever you are, and goodbye.